I would say it's starting the small was probably one of the biggest things for me was like, okay, I did it today. And then you keep getting motivated to keep doing it. That's what I think really worked for me this time was.
In today's episode, I'm speaking with Gabby. I think Gabby has a really outstanding message. When you're listening to this interview, here are the things that I want you to pay attention to. One is starting out small. Two is going to be finding things that you enjoy for exercise. We're much more likely to stick to the things that we enjoy. The next, and Gabby will harp on this, is plan, 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 and then plan again. I really think that planning is going to be one of the most important things that you can do as you are starting to get consistent with exercise. So here's Gabby. Please enjoy the interview, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get more content just like this. I am talking with Gabby, and hopefully she's not just here to see my dog. Is that true? Are you here for? You're here
No, I'm here to talk with you. Scout's just a bonus.
Okay, perfect. That must be why you come up to all the group events, right?
Yeah. Of course, yeah. It's been really helpful for me, those group events. It's a nice sense of community.
Yeah, I like that. So, Gabby, part of this is helping other members hear about other members' lifestyle journeys, how they got started with exercise, how they've gotten to a place where they've been consistent. And like you said, you've been in a lot of our groups, and I think you've provided really great advice based on your own experience to some other group members. Can you tell us when we first spoke, which was like in October or November, I think, where were you? Yeah, where were you at then?
So like in October, November, I was just, I'd maybe ride my bike here and there. I'd maybe do strength workout here and there, but I wasn't consistent. I was always getting angry with myself. Like I was treating exercise as a punishment and just saying, this is something I need to do, but wasn't finding any joy. I wasn't finding a schedule with it. And one of the things we talked about was how to make a schedule. And so I started actually scheduling time, like I'm going to ride my bike this day. I'm going to do a strength workout this day, and really planned out the week. And it would pop up on my Google calendar, be like, oh, in an hour, your workout's supposed to begin. And it would prompt me to do that. And that has been probably one of the biggest tools I've used, and I still use it. And I've been really consistent the past couple months, despite getting sick one of those months. It's been really a useful tool, and just also trying to it just prompts you like, oh, I scheduled this and I have the time to do it. Nothing else is in this time slot.
Yeah, that's great. So I tell people this in our goal setting groups is I say plan, plan, and then plan. So you mentioned you get the prompt. So I made the plan, I get the prompt to exercise. I know what I'm going to do. And whether or not I do it oftentimes is a function of how motivated I am. So for you, you've also spoken about how to basically make the decision to, I guess, not exercise, have more friction, and the decision to exercise have less friction. Can you tell us about what you've done in those situations?
Yeah, so when I would get home from work, the couch would just be sitting there, and I'd end up on the couch, or I'd end up taking a nap. By the time I get going, it's like 6, 7, it's like, well, I need to make dinner, I need to do this, and I just was like, I just don't have time, it's fine, I'll skip today. And that just kept going and going for a couple weeks until we met again. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I was having a lot of frustrations with it. So you made this great recommendation is I would basically remove the friction of so I would put my bike shoes on the couch. I put my bike gear on the couch. I basically put my workout stuff visually oh yeah, I have to do that. And then I would do it, move on. And it just started becoming a routine where I don't necessarily need to do that all the time now. And I'm more scheduling longer rides now. I'm going with friends, and it's just become more of a habit now. And I still have the little poster when you said the remove friction. I still have it.
That's awesome.
I have it right here to remind me. And then, especially with strength workouts, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna put it my house might not look perfect, but the visual reminder of seeing my dumbbells right there, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do this today, and I made that schedule. So that was something that really helped remove the friction. And also you talked about temptation bundling. I have all my workout gear right in front of my TV, so I can put on a show, I can put on a podcast, and I've just basically made it more enjoyable to work out to a point where I don't mind doing it. And when it's raining outside, I have a bike that I can use indoors, and I just turn the TV on and I go, or watch a Twitch stream on my computer. It's been really finding those removing that, like some things that were just really small, just putting my bike shoes out made such a huge difference.
Yeah, I love that. So, not that far away from where you went to school in Rochester is Buffalo. And at Buffalo, researcher Leonard Epstein, they drilled this into me in school. Remember the author's name. Their research study was they put people in one of two conditions. One was actually ended up being four conditions. I could stay where I was and play video games, or I could, that's one condition. I could stay where I am and exercise. I could go across campus and play video games, or I could go across campus and exercise. So those would be my options. Like I'm in a room with a bike, and I can either bike or I can go across campus to play video games. And it was wherever you were, that's what you did. So people tend to opt for the easy thing, which you demonstrated. How do I make that choice easier? And you also talked about temptation bundling, which is another technique to enhance motivation, which is when you pair something that you should do with something that you want to do. So, and those have been helpful for you, haven't they?
Yeah, it's been super helpful. So I'm very into a Twitch streamer who plays Yu-Gi-Oh! I still play it as an adult.
That's awesome.
Don't make fun of me. I have my nerd. But part of it is he streams a while, and I want to watch it, but I still want to work out. So I sometimes will stick them on I have a camera hold. I have like a little thing on my bike where I can put my phone on, and I turn the stream on, and I'll go either outside, or if it's raining, I'll put it on the TV. So I found the ways to still do things I enjoy. Like I listen to the news podcast when I go for a walk. Like that's been the thing I do. And when I don't do that, I feel myself slipping. And so just it's now become more of a habit, where a couple months ago it was really difficult. I think there was one conversation where you basically said, you're going to text me after you go on your ride right now. Yeah. And I went on a ride and I felt so much better. And it's just those little things of just like, how do I adjust this to make it easier? It's kind of like riding my bike where, if I adjust this on my bike, it's going to make it a little bit easier for me to get up this hill. And where if I choose to stay in the same gear, I'm not going to get up that hill.
Yep, exactly. I rewatched every single season of Narcos while on a stair stepper. That's what I did for temptation bundling. So you're demonstrating something that I talk about. Actually, I talk about a lot of things. You've probably can say you can teach everything that I've taught at this point probably. But I talk about how the best intentions can't overcome a faulty system. So what's working for us? What's working against us? How do we remove some of the things that are working against us or make it easier? And I think you've demonstrated that pretty well. I'm curious too for the other thing I always talk about, which is
setting your expectations and making a schedule. What's the other one? There's another one you always mention. I always forget that.
Starts with an I.
Intentionality. Oh God.
I'm sorry. This is the teacher in me quizzing you. Identity, right?
Identity. Oh yeah. It's been something. I consider myself a cyclist. Like I always have considered myself a cyclist. When I was 16, I biked from New Jersey to Washington D.C. with a group of people. Yeah, I was 16 when I did that. So watching college really was my downfall. As sad as it is, I learned a lot, but I gained a lot of weight. And then I kind of yo-yo doing some different things. And then it was just very frustrating the past, I've worked with some incredible people at REI, and just watching some of these people not have a chance, not be able to keep up with them. And I was worried. I went on a bike ride a week ago. I'm like, I'm going with two people, one just won a gravel race, who can bike very seriously. But I was able to keep up with them for the full 20 miles. And I was like, I'm going to be dead tomorrow. I wasn't. So it's just been that change in the identity of I am somebody who bikes. I may not bike 100 miles every other day, but I am someone who bikes. I am someone who exercises. It's just been a really interesting mind shift to see how it never stuck like this beforehand. I'll ride my bike. I used to ride my bike every so often, but now I'm like, I'm really excited to ride my bike. I'm excited to do this ride with my friends.
That's great. That's all that I can ever hope for is when people say, this is a part of who I am. And you actually, I think you have a healthy relationship with identity, because there's a dark side to identity. I don't say the dark side, but research says the dark side, which would be, if I identify as someone that does strength training, but if I always identified as a power lifter, I'm like 50 years old and I can't deadlift 500 pounds anymore. I'm like, that might be detrimental versus I know I can always lift. You know that you can always cycle, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be one of those people on the electric bikes when they're 80.
Yep,
Like,
perfect. Exactly. So you've been through this process. It feels like it's becoming more and more automatic. Does that sound right?
yeah,
So what advice do you have for people to get to, because it doesn't happen overnight, right? You didn't instantly become this is automatic for me. So what advice do you
no,
have for people?
you're going to fail, and you have to just keep getting up because it will. Like, even if you fail, like, you will find you can learn from those failures. And I learned from my failures was like, okay, I was putting way too much in the calendar. I was like, okay, I'm gonna work out every single day. No, be realistic. I'm going back to school. I'm about to become, and that's gonna take me on a lot of my time up. So
Doctor.
I'd be really intentional. I'll be a doctor in about 5 years, hopefully. But it's about setting your intentionality and really making the plan. For me, it was honestly sitting down every Sunday and looking at my Google Calendar and saying, okay, I have all my required stuff in here. Where are those times I can actually fit my workout? And it really, that was one of the things, wasn't guarding your time was something. I know there's a lot of people who are really busy out there who have kids and stuff like that. It was guarding that time for me, being like, this is what I'm going to do. And like, my sister would text me like, hey, come over. I'm like, give me an hour. I'm going to work out. It was not like, oh, I'll come over now and I'll do it. I'm not going to do it when I get home. That was the thing. I was like, oh, I'll just do it when I get home. I was like, no, I need to do it now before I do X, Y, and Z, and then I'll be fine. And so it's just finding those pockets of time and finding something you enjoy. Like, if you told me I had to go out running right now, I'd be like, no,
Yeah.
thank you. It's finding that exercise. You're not gonna like every exercise.
Correct.
And there are sometimes I don't like when you put lunges and squats in the strength training because they hurt.
Whoops.
But I know I sometimes need to do them. But it's finding that joy and the one thing you really enjoy. And for me, that's biking. I've gotten to do a lot of cool things. A couple of years, I went on a trip where I basically stuck all my camping gear on my bike and we went. So I recommend finding something you really enjoy.
That's great. And the way that I frame it is, I think everyone should do a little bit of strength training. If you don't like doing strength training as much, you can do it 2 times. You're fine. And if you love doing aerobics, then do it. I guess actually, let's say if you don't like doing aerobics, still do it at least 2 times for a little bit. Whatever you love, do more of it. And I want to correct you too, because you said failure. And my other motto, maybe you've heard it, is there's no such thing as failure. There's only ineffective solutions, right?
Yes.
So
I have a lot of ineffective solutions. But once you find the one that works, and you're going to have to adjust that throughout your life because things change. Get married, get kids, you change jobs, you stop working from home, or you are working from home, and you have to then find those balances. Like, I found when I was working from home, I was not taking a lot of steps because this is my office. I'm in my home. Everything is right there. I'm not driving anywhere. I'm not doing those steps. So I bought a walking pad and it's simple. I just plug it in and I can walk and I can read the documents, answer my emails. So it's finding those things that work. And and like, I do enjoy doing certain strength trainings, and I also know, because like, I know it benefits me on the bike.
Exactly.
And it makes everything, like, when I don't do the strength training, I realize like, oh, I really couldn't get up that hill as fast as I wanted to today, or I couldn't go as long as a ride. So, and it's been one of those things for me. It's like, I can see it's the benefits of it's carried over into other aspects of my life. I'm focused. I'm able to, and I know that's something that's going to be really helpful when doing class and reading for long periods of time now.
That's
I got to figure out how to read while walking on the treadmill.
Well, I'll add this. This is why I say identity too. Having exercise identity is like having a superpower, because you are not derailed by disruptions. When it's a part of who you are, you're more likely to be able to modify what you're doing and adapt. This happened during COVID. The people that were like, I'm a resistance trainer, they're like, let me get my hands on those adjustable dumbbells so I can do it at home, or let me pivot to body weight stuff. So that's again, if anyone can gain that superpower, it takes at least 6 months, right? I'd say, Yeah.
It's been about 6 months, I think it's been consistent. And the other thing is like getting the one of those things was just getting sometimes the simple equipment was getting, I bought a pair of adjustable dumbbells and it's been game changing because at a point I was like, I can't grow any further. I now need to add. It's at some point it's like, okay, how do I push myself to make sure I'm not just going to fall flat and plateau?
Yeah, that's perfect. And then it's cool when you get stronger too, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can start picking up heavier weights, which is
It's
nice.
just cool. It's just cool. Can you tell us?
And to give people an
Okay.
idea, I only started with 5 pound weights and I've moved up slowly. I think I'm like at 12 to 15. It depends on the exercise. Certain exercise I can't do it with like 12 pounds. I can do, but I sit comfortably around there right now with my weight. So
it's a big increase from 5 to, like, in terms of percentage wise, that's a pretty big increase. So that's really cool. Tell us about how the support group, basically the accountability groups and the walking groups have helped you or have been helpful.
I really love the walking group because I'll get like, I was getting 6,000, 7,000 steps, I would say, around a day, like going to work. If I was going to work, if I was in the house, maybe 2,000 steps if we were lucky. So it was just been really nice to be like, how can I intentionally add more steps and more movement into my day? And as I talked about, adding the podcast and listening to the news and going on a walk outside, adding the walking pad for when I'm at home and I know I'm not going to be walking around my coworker's desk or having to walk to the parking lot. And so that's been something that's really helpful. And also for like the accountability group, it's nice to have the accountability buddy and also just to be around people who are sometimes having the same difficulties as you and to just hear what other people are doing, because this isn't, everyone struggles with this at some point. Like there are certain times where like that you just do not feel like doing anything. And you seeing these people's successes, it really does motivate you. And you're able to hear also if you're just in a rut and somebody had a great week, be like, you know what? I can do it. I can go out and do this today. And it's also great to have like a place when you do succeed. There's people there who are there like guarding your time with someone. I got that from someone in the group. Yep. And it's a great thing because it also, I've applied that to other parts of my life. Like when I need to like, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z today. I'm going to guard this time. So it's stuff that I've taken and applied it to other areas.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Is that as an adult, as a grown-up human being, it is hard to do anything new, right? Maybe if you were 15 and it just started and you had 8 free hours per day, great. Your parents kicked you out to the gym because they needed a break from you too. But yeah, as an adult, it's hard to pick up anything, and I think it sounds like you have put the things in place to be successful, and you've utilized harnessing the social support, those aspects I think really help. You're right. It is nice if I feel like maybe my motivation's starting to go down a little bit, just joining that group can help boost that up because you see other people be successful. So it's nice to hear. I'm curious if you want what other, I guess, any other tips for, it doesn't just have to be for sequence members, but for people that are, trying to get started, maybe haven't picked up the momentum, what should they focus on?
I think focus small. Like any workout's better than no workout, and that's been something like there's been certain times where I was like, I really want to do all 3 sets of this today, but I only have this amount of time. I was like, you know what? I'll just do the 20 minutes. That's better than nothing. I can only go on a walk today. And sometimes that happens, and you have to be very forgiving of yourself and knowing that you're trying to make a habit. And even though you're doing that 20 minutes, the 20 minutes will eventually build, and it's not just moving your body will make you feel better. And I think another thing that really helps me is finding like a group of people or a friend who can be that person you go exercise with, or who you go on a walk with, or for me, it's bike riding, or hiking, or it's finding those people in your life or taking a class, because having that investment of people around you makes you want to do better. It makes you because you have somebody else that's counting on you, to show up. And it's just, that's always been something that really has always helped me. That's why I love the accountability group. And I love finding my friends who really like biking, because if I don't show up to the ride, it's kind of mean not showing up. So it just gives you that extra boost. And it's always nice to do things with friends. And I think my third thing would be just use your calendar, because if you don't have a plan, you're not going to do it. I've just set it up okay, it just reminds me on every week, just, hey, make sure you do this. strength training workouts here, and that's been the biggest thing for me, was that just putting it in my calendar, which takes maybe 1 minute of my time.
So what we've got is find something that you really love, harness social support, plan, and then it's okay to start small. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I would say it's starting the small was probably one of the biggest things for me, was like, okay, I did it today, and then you keep getting motivated to keep doing it. That's what I think really worked for me this time, was I couldn't really do an hour ride at some point. I was just doing 30 minutes, and that was great. And then I was getting stronger, being able to go for 45 and for an hour. Then I was doing 20 miles. And it's one of those things where it builds, and it just takes a little bit of time, and just be patient with yourself, because you're bettering yourself for the long run.
These are all great pieces of advice too, because that last part that you just added in is that success is self-motivating. Success takes a little bit of time, so hang in there, right? So, yeah, Gabby, I think this is all really fantastic advice for Sequence members and for anyone else that's listening. And hopefully you can listen to this episode when you're on your walk and